Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Dbacks Dispatch here with another series review. Unfortunately, the streak came to an end. 9 straight series wins is over. We knew it couldn't last forever, so we'll go ahead and get into this, but I hate the Trop so much. So much. Oh, it's so ridiculous. If this is your first time checking us out, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future content. Check us out on Twitter at Dbacks Dispatch. Check us out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Just search Dbacks Dispatch. We're here, the trio, Brandon, Gabe, and Brett here, just talking some D-backs baseball. We got swept. And to be honest, we're one or two good at-bats away from a series win. We really are. Like, that's what's so crazy, is that we were this close to another series win. Just a couple of things that normally have gone our way the last 2 months didn't go our way. It just didn't go our way here for the series. So, game one was started by the just on a freaking tear. Ryan Nelson ends up going 6 1/3, 5 hits, 1 run, 6 Ks. His only run was given up via a home run. He looked like he was doing really well. It looked like he had his changeup working really well in this game too. I was really impressed with that. I'm like, if he can have his fastball working, his cutter working, if he gets a changeup working, ooh, it's gonna be nice. Bubba here in the chat, thanks for stopping by, Bubba. Yeah, ass is probably the right word to describe this entire series, plus Tropicana. Now, we have discussed at length as to what we feel the team should do regarding Ryan Nelson and Jordan Montgomery. We all are like, Ryan Nelson has earned it. Like, he truly has earned that final spot. But we all know they're probably going to go with Montgomery due to money, which is just sad. Gabe, do you think this is a solely Torrey decision, Torrey and Mike Hazen, or Torrey, Hazen, and Ken Kendrick?
I would assume it's probably more of a Ken Kendrick thing because we've seen this team move on from bad contracts, and as of right now, Montgomery is kind of the bad contract. Although he had a couple decent starts, relatively, these last couple of starts haven't been too bad. But it's just Ryan Nelson has just been incredible these last few months, and he's shown that he belongs in that 5th rotation spot. And if anything, he belongs as maybe a number 3. Like, he's just been so good, and Montgomery has been so hot and cold. And I mean, when he's good, he's good. That's the issue with Montgomery. He has flashes of brilliance. So I mean, it's just one of those things where you kind of have to, I guess, put up with the fact that Nelson has options and he's getting paid $750,000, and Montgomery has no option. So the option with him is you cut him, let him figure it out with another team, or you like send him to the bullpen and risk him getting angry, and then he has a complete season for another team next year. So then he becomes vintage Montgomery for another team, on a $20 million deal. So it's just a really tricky situation. It's not good for anybody. I think this is kind of a lose-lose for everyone involved. The D-backs themselves, Ryan, Montgomery, the front office. It's just very unfortunate that he, listened to Scott Boras, but thankfully he fired him now, so he doesn't have to deal with, starting spring training March 28th or anything.
Slater Moon, this is exactly how I felt this weekend. I'm like, how do we beat like 2 of the top teams in Major League Baseball and then we get swept by the Rays? I'll tell you why.
It's a trap.
Yeah, it's literally what it like. The Trop is something else. Like, I cannot stand it whatsoever. And so Torrey did say that they'd only do the 6-man rotation one time through. So because I think they are worried about having one less arm in the bullpen right now. So yes, Jacob, this is very true. Thank you, Rockies, for taking the series against the Padres. so that we only really fell back one game after a sweep. It could have been so much worse. So glad that we are still in the thick of it. I mean, we fell a little bit more behind the Dodgers, but it's not that big of a worry. Brett, do you think this should be a Torrey and Mike only decision? Or because of the contract tied to Montgomery, do you feel like that's why Ken Kendrick is probably involved with this decision?
I mean, I do want to think that the contract is a big, reason why he's going to, probably have more of a leeway to keeping his spot in the rotation. I wouldn't necessarily say it's fully on Ken Kendrick. Like, I know he's the one writing the checks. I know he's the one that is going to have, he could, even behind the scenes, as far as we know, he could have more of a pull. He could be kind of pulling a Grima worm tongue and speaking in the ear of, Hazen and Lavello. It's like, no, you need to start Montgomery because you spent all this money on him. You need to keep him out there, my master. Like, no, I don't think he's out there like that. But I think it still is a point, or at least a big reason why he's still out there. I mean, not even just that. He's a veteran. He has the pedigree behind him. They signed him obviously off of some of the performance he had in the playoffs. So I think that's still one of the reasons why they're banking on, like, hey, once we get to the playoffs with you, you're going to, we signed you for that reason alone. Like, figure your shit out in the regular season, get to the playoffs. So I would imagine that the Ken Kendrick and the money decision would have a little bit to it, but I would think more of it is just on Mike Hazen. Like Gabe said, Ryan has the options a little bit. Ryan's not getting paid as much. I'm not saying you want to piss off Ryan Nelson, but it's one of those where I think even he would understand it a little bit more, where it is very unfortunate. He does fully deserve, and maybe he doesn't understand it. Maybe he takes it in a way where he's going to be pissed off, and when it goes to arbitration, this is going to be something that, bites the D-backs in the ass. But I could see where the team's like, hey, you know what, Ryan, we get it. It's unfortunate. We don't like the decision we're making either, but just looking at things in the long run, looking at how we're trying to build towards the postseason, like, you're still going to be up here, you're still going to be in the majors, but it is Jordan Montgomery's spot. Like, if Jordan Montgomery still ends up, if he genuinely finishes the season doing some Madison Bumgarner type stuff and putting up some terrible numbers, I think the D-backs could easily justify genuinely cutting him. Like, if they're fighting for a playoff spot and they're 2 games, out from the division, or they're only 2 games up on a wild card spot, and Jordan Montgomery is a make or break decision on them making the playoffs, I think they could justify letting him go then. But at least right now, I think with the money and all that, it's probably a big reason why they're keeping him. But I don't think it's fully on Ken. I think it's just kind of a team decision. I think all 3 of them were kind of in on this when they signed him. They were, you know what, win or lose, we're bringing him in for, reasons here above. We're not going to, hit the panic button and ship him out of here until we see these boxes checked. And I don't think they've seen all the boxes checked so far.
No, it's just because he does have occasionally, he'll have a good start. Like, it's not like it's bad start after bad start. Like, they're decent starts. Occasionally he'll have one where, like, the team's not in it whatsoever, and you're like, well, this just doesn't help. So I think as long as it's not like 7 runs through 3 innings consistently, I think they're going to keep him in the rotation. Now, what they're going to do with him in the offseason, to me, really depends on how he does these next 6 weeks. So, I mean, Jacob, that literally describes so many umpires, though. Like, there's so many just terrible umpires in Major League Baseball. It is quite sad. So, yeah, it's basically everyone is anti-LA whatsoever. Like, I know so many people. Oscar, like, Gabe, you need to get control of your brother. Seriously. Like, he is a menace. Oscar, you're a pure menace. You know that, right? So, for this decision, though, with Montgomery, I still want to see them do the 6-man rotation. Like, I truly feel like it's going to benefit them come playoff time, because a lot of these guys will be fully rested. But I get why they may not, because Gallen is so, like, he needs to go every 5 days. And if he doesn't, like, we'll get into that. Maybe that could be a reason why of his struggles lately. But we are going to talk about someone else who's been struggling lately. Ryan Thompson. Ryan Thompson, not good lately. It's actually a little bit worrisome what he has been the last 30 games. 29 innings, 32 hits, 13 earned runs, which is a 4.03 ERA, a 1.38 whip. And teams are hitting 786 OPS against him. Like, yes, I understand. The first 2 months, he was amazing. He was spectacular. He had a 0.79 ERA through May 25th. It's now at 2.68. Like, I think for me, the thing that I've noticed is it's a location thing. Like, his sinker is not sinking. Like, it's not in the bottom of the zone like it needs to be. He's leaving it up, and I think that's where he gets hit pretty hard. I feel like his ground ball rate is still kind of where it needs to be. But it's been like, I don't feel as confident when he comes in like I used to. Like, for him, it's like, I don't know what we're going to get here. So it's definitely not fun. So Thompson has been struggling a lot lately. We talked about this with Seawald, pulling the Ginkle method. Put him in low leverage situations, allow him to get his confidence back. Is that an option for him, Gabe? Or do you think they just need to leave him where he's at? Because for the most part, he is decent. And obviously, and stats back this up, he needs to come in clean in an inning. He cannot come in with runners on. Like, his numbers with inherited runners is like just like eye-poppingly bad. You're like, oh, please don't do this ever.
Well, there is a reason why the Tampa Bay Rays let him go. Like, they let him go because he does struggle like this from time to time. We just got him, I guess, at the right moment, and so far he had been good for us for the last first couple of months of the season. He was looking like how he did at the second half of the season last year. But the main issue has been, the 30 games, like a 786 OPS off of a reliever. That's not good at all, especially with that 325 on base. Like, it doesn't matter if they're not slugging against him. When you have guys getting on, they're getting hits, they're getting walks left and right, and that's the issue with him. It seems like every inning he's letting two guys on. It's not just the one guy; it's like two guys that he leaves on because he gets a walk and then they get a single, and then sometimes they score, sometimes they don't. He just hasn't been reliable at all in the places where Torrey has put him into, and I think now maybe best thing to do is put him in, if it's possible, as the 6th or the 7th. And then just like Ginkle handle the 8th, because we've seen him handle these high leverage situations. So I trust Ginkle a lot. I haven't trusted Thompson for a while now, and I don't know why he's been put in these higher leverage situations with runners on. And we've been paying the price for it. Like, he just hasn't been sharp. He just misses his location so often. Like, he throws that, was it the slider or sinker or whatever it is, that ball just ends up in the other batter's box over and over and over again. It's just, he just hasn't looked good since like around Pride month or so. But it's just,
Really,
I don't know. I think we need to. I mean, just look at the numbers.
Oh no!
I know. It's just my way of saying. Well, that's just my way of remembering when he failed a bit. So since then he's been struggling, and it's just, I don't know. Maybe just put him in the 6th or 7th. Try to figure this out. Because it's a location thing. I don't think there's anything else that's actually wrong with him. It just seems to be location. So have him iron out whatever kinks there are there. Just have him, because he's not a closer. Like, he's not a typical closer. He's not going to come out there to do that sort of work. Like, he's there as a middle inning guy to just get a whole bunch of ground balls, and that's what he's good for. So those are the ground ball guys, or the guys who come up in in those later innings, like the 6th, 7th, and 8th. But don't have him in high pressure situation. Just have him, do the same thing they've been doing with Seawald, just so he can get his command back, and then maybe he's ready for the playoffs.
I can't believe you said that. Oh man. Yeah, it's entirely location. So it's something that's easily fixable. It's a simple mechanics thing, most likely. So I think Strami will figure it out. Strami is literally one of the best. Our boy Shrimpy here echoes our thoughts completely. Exactly. Screw the Rays. Not really, and we all know why he doesn't like them. Being a New York Yankee fan.
Yeah, fuck the Rays. They're the lesser 98 team. They're 0-2 in the World Series. We're at least 1-1. Okay, I'm just kidding.
So
All my Rays homies, I love you.
Brett, you brought up when we were talking about Seawald doing the ginkgo treatment. Are you on the same page with Thompson? Put him in lower leverage situations, allow him to iron out this control issue, and get his confidence back.
I mean, 100%. I mean, Gabe said it before. There's reason why the Rays let him go. 9 times out of 10, when the Rays let somebody go, there's a good reason. We just saw it this last week with them letting go of Tyler Glasnow. There was a reason why they didn't want to give him all that money, and then once again, he finally passes his career max in innings pitched and has his elbow blow up again. So sometimes the Rays know ball. They know what they're doing, and it looks like especially currently. The D-backs got, like Gabe said, Ryan at the proper time. This game, I wouldn't say is fully on him. I mean, yes, he still has at times, especially on that, he still gave up the hit. Location hasn't been perfect. Even looking at the hard hit percentages for him, I think that was one of the things I noticed a little bit, where he wasn't giving up too much hard hit in the beginning of the season. Like, he was keeping it at like 21% soft contact, 49% medium, and then like just under 30 for hard contact, where ever since May 25th, it's like 3% down on soft. He's giving up less medium contact, but he's giving up considerably more hard contact, almost a 5-6% jump. And then his FIP alone, fielding independent pitching, kind of takes into account more of the pitcher just on exactly how they're doing, not taking accounting for how good their defense is, park factors, the pitcher's performance in general. Where the beginning of the season until May 24th is FIP and xFIP was 177 and 283, where from May 25th until at least before today's game, obviously, it was 466 with a 396 xFIP. So some of his advanced numbers, I believe, as nerding on the D-backs replied to our tweet about that, he's kind of just regressing to the meme. Sorry, it's in my brain. Which isn't too surprising. It's going to happen to every pitcher. It's going to happen to every player. But I think this is definitely something where he's never been, we talked about it before. He wasn't the high leverage guy in Tampa Bay. He did have some times where he got some saves even here, but then sometimes where he just wouldn't get it done, to where I think he could really benefit, like you were saying, Brandon, give him the Seawald and Ginkle treatment. Throw him in the 5th inning when we're either up by 4 or down by 4. Throw him in the 6th inning. Like, I know it sucks because in the last year and a half, he's been that 8th inning guy. And even the last month when we had to, kind of swap closers after taking out Seawald, he's been one of the closers. And I think that might be a big key as to why he's having these issues is I think when he was in the 8th inning guy, he went in there, he's like, I'm going to shut the door for our closer. Like, you bitches are getting nothing on me. To where as a closer, he's like, oh shit, like I have to be perfect. Like I have zero room for error. I know it's still the same mindset in probably the both situations, but it could just be a little bit of a different thing where maybe he's a little more nervous in the closer role than just trying to be a setup role, to where let him just take that out of the equation, go out there, find your stuff, find your location. As Brandon said, the location is a big thing. He's leaving more things over the middle, which I think is leading to more of the hard hit stuff. And even if it's not hard hit, he's still leaving stuff over the middle, like that blue pit against, I think it was it Brandon Lowe or Josh Lau? I know they have 2 Lows on their team that are pronounced weird. It makes it very annoying for things like
Josh.
This. Yeah, Josh
right
Lowe.
Here.
Josh Lowe, not Brandon Lau. Gosh, yeah. So Josh Lowe, like it was still a pitch in the zone. It wasn't the hardest hit. It was still unfortunate that it landed, but I think that Ryan Thompson 2 months ago doesn't make that pitch, probably has a more well-located position on the pitch, and we just don't see that. But I do agree. I think just give him a little bit of a breather down in some lower leverage situations, and we'll see him bounce back into the tea time that we know it can be.
He also
Yeah.
faced 7 batters and threw 30 pitches. There's no reason
Yeah.
why that inning should have continued. He should have brought in Ginkgo. I believe he was warmed up and ready to go. Like 7 guys. Like after the third or fourth guy that you can't get out, it's like, all right, man. Like start bringing somebody else in. Like he clearly doesn't have anything going for him. Like how many hits did he allow? It was like
Too
6
many.
hits
Like,
or like
I'm sorry. Your reliever
30
should
30
never
pitches.
throw that many pitches.
No, he should not.
But yeah, I think that's
Let's
just
see. He allowed. I'm looking up the numbers right now. So that game he went 2/3, 4 hits, 3 runs, 1 walk, 2 Ks. Yeah, 7 batters.
yeah. It clearly got away from him after a while, and even like he had a couple guys on, and it's just like, can you bring in Ginkgo or somebody else to bail him out a little bit? Like, you can't just leave in a reliever out there to die, and that's kind of what Torrey did. Like, it's just, I know we criticize him a lot for this sort of thing, but this is one of those where it's like, what's the logic here? What's the logic in leaving him in for 7 batters with the fully rested bullpen? And it's just, I don't know. Like, I mean, he kind of screwed Thompson too. Like, Thompson's not going to be able to pitch until maybe tomorrow, if anything. And it was a bad play all around. I think there are just too many questionable decisions lately in these sort of games. Just, I mean, you play who you have, and we had everybody rested, and he just didn't use them.
So when he came in, he gave up a single to Diaz, struck out to Lowe, single to Morel, that little bloop single to Lau. He should have been taken out after Lau. That was at 16 pitches. That's when Torrey should have brought someone in. But then they got, which they had, the Rays had the book on the D-backs this series with all the stolen bases. Like it was out of this world how much they were running on us. Like it was a blueprint of what we do.
Series looked kind of like you were gonna say, like the 2023 Diamondbacks. Like the entire series, I was like, this looks like what it probably felt like to watch the Diamondbacks last year, where you're being suffocated by just speed and just making your defense make insanely dumb errors and looking dumb out there.
Dink, thanks for stopping by, my guy. We appreciate it. But like, should have been taken out right after that hit, because we got those 2 stolen bases, then a walk, and then another single. And after what happened in the 9th inning, that Dylan Carlson single, difference in the game. Like, Torrey makes some decisions where I'm like, Torrey, what are you doing? And then he makes some like, that's a smart one. Like, I was so frustrated. I was like, never. The only time you have a reliever throw 30 pitches, it better be over 2 or 3 innings. I'll tell you that. Like, it should never be 1 inning that many, because he's probably not pitching until at least Tuesday. That's a full week's worth of pitching for a back of the bullpen reliever. So hopefully he gets it figured out, because he is one of the guys last postseason that got us to the World Series. How dominant he was in August, September, and October was one of the many reasons our bullpen was so dominant, and why it's been so dominant most of this season. He's been struggling here lately. So moving on to game 2, started by Zach Gallen. I felt great. I'm like, Gallen, sweet. We're going to get a win here. No. Gallen has been struggling lately. This tweet, courtesy of Jesse Friedman from PHNX, his last 34 games, 185 innings, an ERA over 4 with 3 walks per 9 against Brandon Pfaadt, similar innings pitched, ERAs lower, and almost 1.5 less walks per 9. And this mean, perfect example. You saying Pfaadt is the real D-backs ace? Yeah, pretty sure we are.
I love Jesse, but is it even funnier that in his profile picture for that exact screenshot of the tweet, he's speaking with Zach Gallen?
Yes.
In the thing. I just noticed that, and it was a little.
Yeah, it's on the nose. Yeah, he did. Gallen, last 7 starts, Yeah, he has 3 wins. His ERA is almost 5. His WHIP is at 1.68. And it's 4 walks per 9 in his last 7 starts. That's insane. Batters are hitting an 802 OPS against him right now. Like, he's not the guy that we need him to be right now. Like, he is not the stopper that we need him to be, where we know he's on the mound, this is going to be a win. Like, he's still getting innings, so it helps up our bullpen, but sometimes he doesn't leave the team in the game for a chance at the win. Like, I don't know what is going on. I don't know if it's his hamstring is not completely healed, or did teams get something on him? Like, I don't know why his quality is not where it needs to be, because we all know that he knows that he's not where he needs to be. He's not at his high-end quality that he usually is. So, Gabe, would you say his struggle could it potentially be his hamstring injury is still lingering, or is it still a consequence of how many innings he threw last season, including the postseason?
If it was his his speed and stuff like that, his velocity on his pitches, I would believe it would be the innings that he's worked, but I don't think that's what it is. I'm thinking I don't think there's anything wrong with his hamstring anymore. I think it's all mental at this point. I think maybe he's scared to hurt it again, so he doesn't want to land a certain way. So he's kind of overcompensating, maybe stepping, not as hard, or watching the way he steps and stuff. Because the main issue with him has been location. He can't put that fastball where he wants it. And that fastball is what guides all the other pitches. If he's able to throw that fastball where he needs to, then he can throw the curveball whenever and wherever he wants, and batters are going to swing at it because he can dot the corners with that fastball, but he just hasn't done that. And that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of, doing the pitching motion. If I'm scared I'm going to hurt myself, I'm going to do like a little, maybe not land as hard as I normally would if I'm pitching. And just seems that's kind of what he's doing. He's kind of overthrowing it. It seems to be just purely mechanical, and who knows if he's going to get back to where he was before, because the season's in full swing. Like, he can't just be like, all right, well, I'm going to take off for an entire month to try to figure this out. He has to figure this out on his off days, and with the traveling and everything, you don't get that many off days truly to work in the back lots of Salt River Fields or anything like that. So I think this is probably going to last for a little bit longer until he finally feels comfortable and is okay landing on that foot, and not really having hamstring issues anymore. But it's just, we need him to be an ace, because as much as we've talked about Brandon Pfaadt being the ace, we needed Gallen to be the 7-inning 2-run guy that he was for us for all these years. And so far he's been 6 innings and 4 runs, Gallen. Like, he hasn't been reliable at all, and it's just very frustrating to watch, because we don't need another guy that we're wondering what we're going to get out of him. We need a stopper. We need a guy who's going to come out there and give us a chance to win. He just hasn't done that. And like I said, I don't think there's an issue with the hamstring. Physically, I do think it's maybe a mental problem.
Yeah. So some starts I go back and forth. Like, is it his hamstring is still lingering? Because it takes a while to recover from those hamstrings, but it also feels like he's spraying his fastball quite a bit. Command's not what it needs to be. So I go back and forth every start as to what the actual issue is. Brett, what's your cause of concern with Gallen right now?
So after his last start, I remember seeing, and I don't remember what Discord it was or a tweet, I saw something about, potentially Zach Gallen not using his changeup as much. And I was curious on maybe he doesn't have the feel, because I know even especially when we traded for him from the Marlins, that was one of his bread and butter pitches, his changeup, and he's always talked about it, especially when he went on that streak that broke the Brandon Webb scoreless inning streak in 22, or was it 23? Was it last year? Yeah, it was last year, I believe. No. Yes. It was 22. Either way, 22. Whatever year it was, he talked about his changeup a bunch being like a big big key. So I was looking on StatCast, trying to see if like his percentage of usage has changed throughout the years. So in 23, he uses changeup about 13.9% of the time. He threw it 453 times. This year, he's thrown it actually around so far the same percentage at 14. So I went, okay. Started looking at some of the other pitches. He's still fastball heavy. In 23, he threw his fastball around 49% of the time. This year, 46. Knuckle curve last year was around 22. This year, it's jumped up around 5% to 27, which isn't a bad thing. His knuckle curve has been really solid this year. But one of the pitches that I've seen jump up in usage a lot, or at least percentage-wise, was his slider. So his slider last year in 23, he used it around 4.5% of the time. He only threw 145 times. This year, he's thrown 161 times at 8.8%. He is getting kind of shelled with it. It's the second hardest hit pitch out of his 5, where his cutter, I'm not counting it. His cutter, he's thrown 55 total times. His sinker, I'm not counting it. 3 times, it doesn't even come up here. His cutter is getting smashed 83 or 833 slugging, whereas last year I think it had a 648 slugging, so I think that might be another big key. But his slider is just, it's gone from a put away percentage in 23 of 17.2 to 9.7 this year. To where whether it's he's trying to get that strikeout pitch with it, whether he's trying to get them to roll over on it, it seems like, and I might have to go back and watch some film. And even looking back on it, and even the series, it seems like his slider is just hanging a little bit. It's kind of in between being a slider and a cutter. Like it's going too fast to be a slider, or it's not breaking enough to be, classified as a slider, and it might be going in as a cutter. But it is one of the things where I don't think it's as effective, and it could just be maybe all of his pitches in general. Obviously, we're seeing his cutter, like that's a little bit more alarming. Last year, hitters were slashing. Better batting average, 352, 336, 648 slugging, whereas this year they're only hitting 333, 304, 833. So they're hitting it harder, but not as often. Where their slider, it's 267, 293, and a 400 slug, where the changeup, knuckle curve are all below that, and his fastball is at 503, but he throws it at 50% of the time, and he throws it hard. You're going to expect the fastball to get hard. I'm sorry, you're going to expect the fastball to get hit hard, pause. So I think that's one of the big things is his secondary pitches, whether it's his changeup, his slider, or his cutter, they're just not as effective. And I don't think that's necessarily his mechanics or being tired from pitching too much in the playoffs. Like Gabe said, if it was a little bit of a velocity thing, like if his fastball was down a tick, if his RPMs were noticeably down on a lot of his pitches, I would definitely think that he could just be gassed. I just genuinely think it just might be one of those where, not trying to say that he's still not good, but it just might be one of those years where he just genuinely doesn't have it.
Yeah, it's just one of those years, which it might benefit us that we don't have to pay him as high of a number 1. So, yay. Like, I don't know how I feel about, I want him to pitch well, but with him not pitching well right now, maybe we'll save ourselves some money. So, I want to say hi to the man Shug here. Thanks for stopping by, my guy. Always appreciate the love and support. Gallon just needs to get it together. There's still a lot of time for him to get it right, because we're right there with both the wild card and the division. So if we can get him right, we're getting Kelly back, Erod's back. Things can change in an instant. He could all of a sudden, his next start, go 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 rock, 7 Ks. And then he just goes on a roll the rest of the season. That's how good he is. Is once he gets right, he's probably one of the top 5 pitchers in the National League, without a doubt, in my opinion. So I just want him to get it right. I'm just gonna say this: fuck Tropicana Field, so much. Oh my freaking this. I'm sorry. This double by Lau here. I'm like, oh, that's a homer. And then all of a sudden I see, what the hell is Grichuk doing? and the ball never comes back. Ground rule double. How does that make sense? So I looked it up. Here is what it says about the catwalks at Tropicana Field. In the C and D ring, if it's in fair territory and it hits one of those rings, it's a homer. I'm like, okay. Batted balls that strike the upper catwalks in A and B ring, if it stays up there, it's a double. If it goes over foul territory, it's a dead ball. But if it hits it and it comes down and the guy catches it, it's an out. Like, how freaking ridiculous is this? Like, this. I mean, I'm glad that the team in the city came to an agreement for a new stadium that they're getting here in the next couple of years. Like, I get that the worst stadium actually is the Coliseum in Oakland, but some of the things here at the Trop are just like, there are plenty of other indoor stadiums. Chase Field, for example, doesn't have this issue with catwalks and fly balls. Like, why is this an issue at the Trop only? Like, there's no other indoor stadiums in baseball that have this issue. Why is it the Trop has this issue with fly balls in their catwalks? Like, I hate it so much. Oh, and the fact that the team plays terrible there. Like, we don't ever play there. In a decade, we've only won 2 games there, and we've only won 4 since 1998.
You know one of the important ones, though? You know the most important one that we've won there, though?
What?
Edwin Jackson, baby.
Oh my God, I forgot about the one. What was that? Like 8 walks he had in that one? Through like almost
walks in 130 or 150 pitches, whatever it was.
It's
Adam
still
LaRoche, the MVP of the game.
So weird. Gabe, floor's yours if you want to just rant about the Trop. It's a Trop.
The Trop. Yeah, I mean, I guess in Oakland's defense, you can get top, in the top part of the stadium since there's nobody up there. You can't really do that at the Tropicana, I'll say. It's such an ugly stadium. It's not even in Tampa Bay. It's in freaking St. Petersburg. There's one bridge to get in or out there. And it's just an awful stadium. It looks gross. It doesn't have a good design. It's like, I don't like that stadium at all. And also, I looked it up because I was like, this has to be a cursed franchise with the cursed stadium. Like, it has to be. I looked it up, and yeah, I can see why. I was wondering, like, is it underneath like a Native American burial ground or something? And it's not, but it used to be a industrial area of St. Petersburg, where a large majority of the people who worked there were black, and they work at an industrial area and like some gas thing, I think, where the actual stadium. And they tore it down, and they displaced everybody, and they promised them jobs and reparations for building the stadium there and taking away all their jobs. And obviously, being Florida, they never gave him money or anything. They never, made good on those promises. So yeah, they started off on the wrong foot as it was in the 70s. So screw that stadium and screw St. Petersburg, I guess.
Yeah, not a fan. Brett, you want to rant about the Trop?
I mean, I don't know if Shrimpy's still in here, but I'll trust me. There's a lot of times where whenever we see back in the day, Mark Teixeira hit a home run, Juan Soto pulls a line drive down at Yankee Stadium, Aaron Judge pulls it down the right field line, and we're like, oh, Little League Field. No, I'm sorry. That crown needs to officially be passed on to the dog shit that is the shittier juice of Tropicana Field. Like, there's home run rings on your roof because your dumbass built it too low. You get a handicap because you don't know how to properly build a stadium because you just don't know what you're doing. Also, they're not even in Tampa Bay. They're in St. Petersburg. So there's an L alone off of that. Learn how to name your team and where to build it. Check a map, dummy. But why are you going to make your roof white? Like, it's an advantage. The home players, it's stupid. You're stupid. Don't be stupid.
Hopefully
God, I
they
hate that stadium.
hopefully they fix that with their new stadium.
Also,
Like,
the
don't-
Diamondbacks have a turf, and there's no spongy ass bullshit like that we see in Toronto and Tampa Bay. Like, what is it with the outfield turf that the D-backs have versus the all turf like infield and outfield that the Rays and Toronto have? Like, do they get different outfield grass? Like, what is it? Because that thing was we've seen Gurriel and them have some weird hops at home, and we know they play on turf here at Chase Field. That
So they
was some
use-
weird bouncy shit.
They use like the coconut shavings, like like the little like the coconuts that like stringy stuff that's on the coconut on the outside. That's what they use at Chase Field to dampen the bounce, and all the other places they use like the tires or whatever. So everybody's gonna die of cancer there. But I want to have a quick trivia question for you guys. So everybody in the comments, don't look this up. Who was the first player to hit a home run in the Tampa Bay Stadium? As for the Rays, because the stadium was built in the 70s, but
Like
for
first Rays to hit it or first D-backs?
no, first game. The first game that they had in 1998, who hit the first home run?
I'm trying to remember.
Wade
who
Boggs.
would- Yeah,
That
that's
was
probably
he hit the first one for Tampa Bay. He didn't hit the first one. That was good though.
I mean, I'd have to look up who they played, but I'm not going
He
to.
played the Detroit Tigers.
Ooh. Was it
98.
Cecil? No?
I don't know.
Oh, it was Gonzo. It was
It
Gonzo,
was Luis
huh?
Gonzalez.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Took me
Wow.
like the third time's the charm, but I was like, I feel like it's got to be a former Diamondback that was also a Tiger. So, damn, that's crazy. Actually, that's a good little piece of trivia. I like the game.
Nice. That is nice. I'm glad we're done because I hate this stadium so much.
I just hate the
So-
state of Florida. I hate that we have to go play the Marlins next. Like, I don't like playing those teams. We always do bad.
Hey, at least with that one, like it's not like a shitty. Like it's a nice stadium that the Marlins have now. So, I always find it weird at certain stadiums. Like when you hit a ball in the outfield, there's like dirt that pops up. I'm like, that shouldn't happen. Like, why is that happening? So, always found that
Is
weird.
it do those stadiums use the same like cancer causing materials that the NFL uses? Because if so, like, hey, baseball, get together. What are we doing here? Come on now. If anything,
think
those
most of
guys
them
are
use,
making
like,
more
the
skin to skin
tires.
sliding contact on the turf than football players are.
Yeah, it usually is like those like rubber beads that they use out there. So, just don't slide on your shoulders because you get weird, what do you call it? Weird cancer like all those female goalies do.
So bad. So yeah, lose game 2. So lost the series. So series streak is over. Game 3 here, started by Merrill, the mainstay. He was okay. Like he wasn't like amazing, but he wasn't terrible like Gallen. Just a lot of pitches in the first. He had like 20 plus pitches in the first, and God, they were running like crazy. Like it was just like so ridiculous. We made a joke about this like last week, and y'all were like hounding us because we won a game of it. But I truly feel it's starting to become an issue. If they don't hit home runs, this team struggles lately. Like I don't know what it is, but it's home run or bust. It's great that they are able to come back, but it gets very. They didn't have a hit through the first 6 innings. Like they were 3 of 16 with runners in scoring position in this game. 5 of the 7 runs came courtesy of the home run. In innings 7 through 9, they were 8 for 16. They were batting .500. Why couldn't you do that the rest of the game? Like, it's the damn opener. I hate openers, mainly because we used it in the World Series, which just boggles my mind.
It's terrible for us offensively, but it doesn't help us when we do it. What the fuck, man?
Yeah, I really don't get it. Again, we're not saying hitting home runs is a bad thing, but if that's your only way of scoring, It's not what this team is built for. Like, we need to get back to the Chaos Diamondbacks of 2023. Get on with walks and singles, single them to death, singles and doubles to death. Like, I'm fine with that. Stolen bases, but the home run reliance is it has me concerned right now. Like, shout out to Adrian Del Castillo. 2 career home runs. One's a walk-off, and one tied the game. So he's off to a really good start. Defensively, he's not that great right now, but we all kind of knew that. Like, we knew defensively he wasn't something to write home about. It is his offense, so that's why I think he'll be a great DH down the line. Maybe he can learn first base, because we do need a first base of the future. So maybe something for him to work on. Gabe, do you think it's the reason they're relying so much on it is because it keeps working? Like, it gets them back in these games? Or do you think it's just a lot of them are just launch angle? Homer, like, it's just what they're looking for.
I think the issue though is going to rely on analytics. Like, it's the same way why the NBA is so reliant on 3-pointers now, like to the point where we have 7'7" guys shooting threes when they should just be scoring for twos. And this is just what the league is now. And what made the D-backs so successful last year was they went against the grain. They weren't relying on a home run. They were just singling teams to death. They were stringing together hits, taking their walks. If they had the bases loaded, they weren't going for a home run. They were shortening their swings, choking up on the bat, hitting little singles and doubles, and then they would just score, almost at will at times. And right now, I mean, I brought this up during the Cleveland series. I mean, that was over a week ago. I brought it up there because I was just like, I know we swept, but I didn't feel good about how we swept because they just kept hitting home runs, which is great. I love, I'm a chick, so I love the long ball apparently. So it's just one of those things where it's fun to see, but you can't just rely on that sort of thing. Like, you have to have a little bit more of a well-rounded game, because what do you do when they counteract you, which is what they've been doing to them. The Rockies try to counteract them. The Phillies try to counteract them. The difference was their pitchers were locating. They're trying to go, fastball up, off speed down. That's the playbook against, what this is, which is just relying on the home runs. It's launch angle. You just throw the fastball up and off speed down. And what happened during the Phillies series, they're just missing their spots, like the home run that Corbin Carroll hit straight down the middle, and that's what's been happening. And the Rockies try to do it too. They just don't have good pitchers, so they just kept missing over and over. And even there, like, they struggled to win games where they weren't hitting home runs against the Rockies. Like, the Rockies kind of gifted them a couple games because just how bad their defense played. And during the series, during the Rays had a lot of errors too, but their pitching was really, really good, really solid. They were locating, they were throwing, at least for the first 2 games, fastballs up, off speed down, and the D-backs were swinging, getting a whole bunch of ground balls, getting a whole bunch of strikeouts, because that's what happens when you counter the home run like that. But today, what I noticed is they switched up what they were doing, because I think they probably realized that the D-backs were going to start switching it up too. Instead of going up and down, they went left to right. And when you do that against a team that had adjusted, the D-backs seem to have adjusted to up and down, but they didn't adjust to side. So then they struggled with this one. That's why they came out and had like no hit through 6 innings, and they just got to find a way to adjust, because teams are adjusting to them and adjusting to these home runs. They just have to adjust back and not rely on these home runs. They have to start stringing together hits and scoring these guys, because again, these 3 games looked exactly how the D-backs looked early in the season. Just not moving runners over, playing, shaky defense. And we can't have that happen again, especially this late in the season.
Yeah, like, again, I love home runs. Chicks dig the long ball, and so do dudes. But don't have it be all year off. Like, if it's late in the game, you got runners in scoring position, and you need multiple runs, it's good, but I don't want them to try to hit home runs. Some of these guys, like Jake McCarthy, is not a home run hitter. And I don't feel like Gurriel is either. Suarez is. Jock is. Walker is. Like I'm fine when they do it. But when these other guys try and do it, it does worry me because some of them are not home run hitters. So, Brett, what are your feelings on the whole home run or bust?
I mean, it's not good. I mean, I agree with Gabe. The home runs are great. It's not like, we even said it last time. We're not trying to say home runs are a bad thing, but it is something that even just the entire season when they were struggling, thankfully over from June 1st up until even before the series, it's been one of those things where it hasn't been rearing its ugly head as much because we've been winning games. When you're winning the rose-colored glasses, everything just looked like roses instead of red flags. It is what it is. But now we're kind of seeing, like I said, we talked about it all year. They've never, well, not never. They've had some consistency issues when it comes with runners in scoring position. Like this series alone, going 3 for 8 in game one. The Corbin home run saved their ass. Like they went 3 for 24 with 3 walks in innings second through or the 8th in game one. Obviously, game two, even that really wasn't that good. They went 1, 2, 3 in 6 of the 9 innings. And then game three, first through 6th, like Brandon said, no hit, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. 7th through the 9th, they finally woke up. They hit 500, 2 walks, 2 homers, 6 RBIs. 5 of their 7 runs were because of the home run. 2 on the Corbin, 3 on the ADC bomb. And then in the 12th inning, when they are literally gifted a runner in scoring position, a chance to just get the run in, they go 2 for 10 with a Jake caught stealing at home, which really looks bad in the long run with how things ended. Like with how good this offense is. Like I get what Jake's trying to do, at least a little bit, creating chaos, but it's too chaotic. You can't be taking the bat out of these guys' hands, especially with how it's been. We don't know. It could be Newman, it could be Gurriel, it could be anybody in every given day. You got to give them the opportunity. He took it away from them, so that's unfortunate. But it is a little bit worrisome when even the series alone, like Gabe said, they neutralized the Diamondbacks' power. If the Diamondbacks weren't hitting home runs, they weren't scoring. They've had 3 for 16 today with runs. 3 for 16. That's gross. That's disgusting. I know you can add in the extra inning. Would probably be like 10 at bats alone, I think, from the 10th through 12th. So yes, that might inflate that a little bit, but still, even without that 3 for 6, like you got to be a little bit better, or even like 2 for 6, 1 for 6, whatever it is. You got to be better with runners in scoring position than you have been lately. You can't always rely on the home run ball. It's not always going to happen. It's great when it does. It's I don't think that they're going out there trying to hit it. I just think that maybe sometimes they might be, I don't know, just a mixture of overly aggressive on the base paths with overly passive at the plate, to where they're looking for their home run pitch. They're looking for the pitch that, I can get some lift on this and drive, which that's not bad. That's probably what you want to do in baseball. I'm not a hitting coach, but that's not what every situation calls for. Look back at the Jake McCarthy walk-off. You didn't need to get the ball lifted in the air. You just needed to hit it where they weren't. He took a pitch up and away. That was a ball outside the zone, went with it, and wasn't trying to do much. Like you said, Brandon, there's some guys that are like, it's cool when they hit home runs. I definitely feel like Jake, the last, 5-6 games, has been trying to hit home runs. He's been trying to drive the ball. Like it's been more in his head where he's like, let me swing harder. Let me, do whatever I need to do. And he just hasn't been correlating to what we saw from the Philly series and even the 2 months like we were talking about. Like, I think it could also be like my dad made a great point when we were playing some D&D today. He's like, hey, sometimes like the Rays are still a good team. They got back up to 500. They're in a tough division. Their record doesn't always indicate how good they are, just like the Rockies, like with their offense. The Rays are still a solid team. Sometimes you're due to get your shit kicked. I think I'd rather get my shit kicked by the Rays in a 3-game series than get swept by the Marlins. So hopefully they just got it out of the way now, and they're going to go down to the different part of Florida and just beat the shit out of the Jazzless Marlins. They don't got no music anymore to dance to, They don't got no jazz anymore.
Yeah, and Oscar brings up a good point about the first pitch swinging. There was like 3 innings in a row where they all went up there hacking at the first pitch, and they were pitches way outside the zone too. Suarez had a couple where it wasn't even close to the strikes, and they just swing at them, and it's just I think that's one of these symptoms of being overly aggressive, trying to hit home runs, where anything near the strike zone, you're swinging out of your shoes instead of taking a couple pitches, working the counts, making these pitchers work. Like, there's no reason why a pitcher has to have, like 40 pitches in the fifth inning. Like, it's just, and I know they're asking in the comments, like, why does the way that we score matter? But that's why. If you're only scoring one way, it does help you get back into games. Like today, we saw like hitting home runs, it gets you back into games. Same with the NBA. You take 3 threes, that's 9 points. If you take 3 jumpers, that's 6 points. You make more points, but it's a lot harder because the league averages like 30% on 3-pointers, and then they average 60% on 2-pointers. It's just math. And same with baseball. It's like you're going to strike out, you're going to ground out a lot more with home runs, but they get you into the games a lot quicker, which is why that's something that teams do in the playoffs. But when you face an elite pitching staff, all that goes out the door, and you have to learn how to adjust to that. And so far, I mean, they haven't really adjusted. Even, like I said, even that Rocky series, like, they looked a little shaky to me trying to like hit the home runs, and hopefully again we get back to them running, because I don't think they ran at all in this series either. The Tampa Bay were playing D-backs ball, and that's why they're able to win.
Awesome.
That is true, though.
Okay. Is Oscar Gabe? Do we need a wellness check on your brother?
Like, it's just
Are you watching BoJack Horseman too much, brother? It's okay. The horseman can't hurt you. He's not real.
Man, it just got freaking dark in here with Oscar. Yeah, like, people love the home run. Like, people do. Like, people love watching the home run. And again, it's not bad, but some teams are not built to do it that way. And I just feel like we're not built that way.
I mean, and that's where, like, like Eddie's comment, I definitely think it's a point. It's if we're winning and we're scoring runs, it's one of those where what does it matter as long as we're scoring? That's, again, very true. We're not disagreeing. It's just sometimes it seems like we added some, the Geno, the Jock, the Randall to add pop along with the chaos ball, like, the singles, the situational hitting. It just seems like at times they're sacrificing that situational hitting that we know they have to try to get a little more power, which again doesn't have to be a bad thing at times. I just feel like throughout the season they're picking the incorrect times to do it. And again, this is coming from, and I say it every time I can because I don't want somebody to think I'm acting like a know-it-all. I'm not a hitting coach. I'm not a actual.
Wait, you're not? I thought you were.
Right? No, I know. It's almost like I know you. It's hard to tell, but it's. I think there's times where they're kind of sacrificing some of what we saw from them last year and what we hoped we would continue them add the home run power to this year, in place for more, more swing and miss, or not swing and miss. They're not swing and miss team, but just for more power.
Now, I love how we go from this. And now we're going to talk about one person that is hitting power like crazy, and that is Corbin Carroll. Corbin Carroll had 2 home runs in this series. One was to tie the game here in game 1. Like, he cleared the fence easily. Then he had another one today that really got us back in the game in the 8th. And his follow-through on both is exactly the same. Like, it's so, like, it's just like a little pimp job. Like, his power. I didn't realize how little power he had June 1st. When you put that in, I was like, that can't be right. I went and watched his first at bat June 1st. Yeah, it said 2 home runs. I'm like, oh my God. He has 11 cents. Like, insane. Like, I'm at a loss for words. Like, I'm at a loss for words where this power just came back from. Like, he was doing it this last year, but he was doing it consistently. Like, he didn't do this at all the first 2 months, and he's done it the last 2 months. Like, he's almost at a 700 OPS. Yay! He's almost there. He overall, he's been playing a lot better the last 2 months. Like, I think what I think he was finally able to adjust what teams were doing to him. It took us longer than probably a lot of us wanted it to, but I think, and it's the main reason why Alec got sent down, is the way Jake and Corbin were hitting. There's just not enough at bats to go around. And with the Cattell situation, I'll say this right now: just put Cattell on the IL. Like, I would rather him be out for 2 or 3 weeks now than him out for 6 weeks because he keeps trying to come back. And again, this is not just a Torrey and a training staff decision. They ask Cattell, how are you feeling? You good to go? He says yes. Obviously, he is going to say yes because he wants to play. Because he knows he is our best player. Like, he knows his team is just better with him in the lineup. Torrey just may have to save Cattell from himself. Like, Cattell's going to say he's ready to go, but he's come back twice in the last week and lasted 1 at bat. Both times. So I would like them to just put him on the IL, let him rest for 2 weeks. Doing that, we can bring back up Alec, or we could bring another bullpen on. Because that, I have a feeling that's what the move's going to be. Is if they put him on the IL, they're bringing back Alec, or they're bringing in a bullpen arm. So I went off on a little bit of a tangent there. But Corbin, just last 30 games, he's hitting 260, 352 on base, a 614 slugging for 964 OPS. Like, if Cattell's going to be out for a while, Carroll needs to step up because we're without Gabby and we're without Walker. So Carroll is going to have to be the guy that steps up. So I'm just glad that we got this Corbin back. I mean, we have made a meme of it, like every time he has a hit, like, oh, he's back. I think he's actually back, ladies and gentlemen. Gabe, do you have any insight as to what the power resurgence?
Do I have any what?
Insight of what to why to Corbin's recent power surge.
Well, we broke it down one of his at bats during the I guess it's not spring training, but like the opening trainings that we had. I mentioned that his swing was starting to look a little bit more closer to Christian Yelich when he made the switch when he went to Milwaukee, just kind of trying to get more power. It didn't work for him for a lot of the season. And I can understand why. He just made kind of a big switch. And I believe Sean Casey on the podcast says, like, you need about 1,000 swings until you can adjust to a new swing. And I don't think Corbin really had that much time to, truly get that swing under control and be, who he's been recently. And I mentioned it also during the one of the podcasts right before the All-Star break, which was I was hoping that he could just take the week and practice on his swing, because you don't get that much time to practice during the actual season. That's what the break is for, so you can get your mind right and get your physicality right. And it seemed like it worked because since then, which has been 15 games or so, he has like over like 1,000 OPS. He's hitting a ton of home runs, and I know on the doc it's not updated, but I have the updated numbers. In his last 30 games, he's batting 260, 352, and has a 644 slugging. So that makes it a almost 1,000.
Yeah, 994.
Yeah, almost 1,000. Yeah, you're talking about almost 1,000 OPS in his last 30 games. The average doesn't concern me much because I honestly think this is who Corbin is. He's kind of a 260, 270 guy. He's not a 285, which is fine by me. If he's hitting home runs like the way he is here, I mean, he's getting the balls that he wasn't getting early in the season, which were fastballs straight down the dick. Like, he's getting them now. He wasn't getting them earlier. So whatever adjustments he made, either it was an adjustment or he trusted the process, didn't change the swing, and just kept doing what he was doing. And finally, he was able to get a launch angle instead of it being as flat as it was early in the season. Because, again, a stat about him, or a fun fact stat, whatever you want to call it, he had 57 walks all of last year. He's at 53 right now. So he's almost getting there. He had over 120 strikeouts last year. He's barely right around 90, I believe. So season high, he's going to have a season high in walks and a season low in strikeouts or career, I mean, because again, he made that switch. It took him over a week or so, 7 or 8 games until he had his first strikeout this year. And we mentioned that, like, yeah, sure, he's not hitting, but he's walking a lot. He had like a 450 on base. You know, he was batting like 150, but with the 450 on base, just because of how much he was walking. And that seems to be the adjustment he made. He is concentrating on getting walks, lowering his strikeout percentage, and then getting a little bit more power. And I think it finally paid off.
Yeah. So just Corbin, just keep doing what you're doing. And I think, yeah, like Gabe said, his swing, I think he tried something this offseason and the start of the year and it wasn't working. So he adjusted it. It takes a while to fix that swing. So Brett, you went and did the deep dive on the numbers. Was there anything that stood out to you with Corbin?
I think obviously some of the numbers like the OPS being up over almost 300, I think it was like 250 points, maybe like 230. That was really impressive. The WRC plus going from 63 to 122, almost again doubling itself there. Just a lot of the stats itself just felt like they were doubling. He was double the hitter he was. But when I was looking at his actual percentage, like hit numbers, he went from a 22, just over 22% soft contact, down to below 20%. His medium contact went from over 52, almost 52.5 to 47. He's got almost 8% more, almost 9% more actually hard contact than what he was doing in the first 55 games. And I think a little bit of that could be when I'm looking at his Baseball Savant page. I don't have the screenshot of it from the beginning of the year. I can try to go find it after I'm done with this and then compare it after. But when I was looking at it, the beginning of the season, he wasn't really getting the best squared up numbers. It seemed like, obviously we were watching it. He was getting a lot of pop-ups like Gabe was mentioning. He, if he was getting stuff down the middle, he was popping it right up into the infield, maybe to the outfield. He was just not getting a lot of good contact. Where looking at it now, especially his squared percentage, he's in 73rd percentile. The sweet spot's still not where you want. His hard hit seems to be up. His barrel percentage seems to be up at least a few points from where it was in the beginning of the season. Again, I'll try to find a screenshot to confirm. But I think a little bit of whether it's he's reverted his swing back to whatever the issue or the fix was, or the fix, like you said, took 2-3 months, even 4 months to finally kick in and set in and take hold. I think we're starting to see that, and kind of I feel like the running theme, the running word, maybe running like 5 words for this team and this podcast that we say on here a bunch is like confidence, whether that's hitters, pitchers, and all that. I feel like Corbin's confidence is starting to come back around, as you mentioned. Him watching that home run, that game-tying pimp job, and even that home run that he hit today, that was against lefty. Like, I know it was basically on a tee, but that's still something from Corbin we don't see too often, getting some good power from a lefty. So I think if we're seeing things like that from him, especially the fact that, like I said, a 122 WRC plus over the last 63 games with an over 800 OPS, that'll play. I'll take that. That's if we would have seen Corbin having a 239 batting average this year, but with the rest of these numbers, I think we'd be like, damn, okay, it's a little disappointing, but with the way where the team is, I'll take it. But because of how terrible of a start that he had, Chris Garagiola mentioned it on one of the broadcasts when he was talking about Reddit, where the guy was, I'm going to post Corbin Carroll highlights every day until his batting average is over 250. It's not going to happen. Again, it's too late. The beginning of the season was
not possible.
The beginning of the season was so bad, it's not going to happen. But that's where I like at least doing kind of stat splits like this, to where even now we're not going to see over 250, but it's close. He could finish the season going at least more than half of it, really improving from what he did at the beginning. And I think a little bit could be just he's starting to just barrel the ball up more. He's just genuinely seeing the ball more. He's actually got the confidence and he's just ready for it. He's not getting fooled. He's not getting beat on pitches like 95-mile-an-hour fastballs right down the middle. Like, he still will. Every hitter in the lineup still will, but it just doesn't happen as much.
Yeah. So Corbin, just keep doing what you're doing. I think we'll be good. Yeah. Corbin when he hits a homer and he gets so excited. I'm not sure what I like more, that or when he's running on like a triple and just so that is fun. Yeah, Bubba. Seawald pitched another solid inning. So I think we're getting closer and closer potentially. Maybe him back in the closer role because since he won out, Thompson hasn't been great either. So, but Jay Moor's been pretty good for the most part. I mean, what he did today, I mean, he did load the bases himself but he got 2 strikeouts and he got that third out.
If anything, that's more of a ballsy move to. I mean, the intentional walk. I don't know if that was his call, but the intentional walk, then immediately hit the guy and load the bases, and then just strike out. I think it was 3 straight strikeouts. Right?
No, 2, and then it was
and then the chopper back to him that he got him out of home. That's right. Like,
yeah.
That's some genuine, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he cocked his arm a little bit. That's the kind of shit where. I don't think Paul Sewald's doing that. I don't think many other guys in the D-backs bullpen are doing that just off of like his stuff alone got him out of that inning. What his pitches got him out. It wasn't luck. It wasn't, he got the guy to pop up or roll over. No, he dominated those hitters. He said, okay. Yeah, I put myself in this situation. I'm getting myself out of the situation.
Yeah, so really impressive. All right, everyone, we've come to the part of the show everyone's been looking for, our giveaway. I want to say thank you to everyone that entered, everyone that did it via YouTube here in the comments. Brett is modeling what we actually have with the 2 rings, the Gurriel bobblehead. So really, really great. We had people do it on YouTube with the comments, so we appreciate all that. So here we go with our winner.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
Congratulations there to David. We appreciate the support. We will also be making a tweet. So, David, if you're watching on Twitter or YouTube, just keep an eye out on your DMs. We will work out all the details. This is not our last giveaway. We will most likely do one in September, ladies and gentlemen. So just go ahead and stay tuned. It will be announced on a YouTube video. We will also make a tweet about it. So just always stay tuned. Looks like Josh already tweeted it out at way to go, my guy, producer extraordinaire. That's not the only announcement we have today. We have a lot of support on Twitter, and we appreciate it very much. We have decided to launch our own Discord where everyone can join and we can all chat and just talk baseball, talk anything, talk memes. If you got some memes.
Free.
Yes, it is free, ladies and gentlemen. We will also tweet it out. But here is the link. So just go ahead and jump right in. It will also be in the description of the video. So if you're watching on the replay, just go ahead and click on the description and it'll jump right in there for you. So we appreciate all the love and support. Gabe, any parting thoughts for the pod today?
Yeah, just flush this series out and, go into Miami. Hopefully they can get the job done there and don't go to too many strip clubs.
Oh my God. Brett, any final thoughts?
I mean, just piggybacking off what Gabe said, just flush it. Know that this was still a good team. This is the better team in Florida. Just go into Miami and just win the series. Start a new series winning streak. Just get back into the winning ways. Know that you're a good team, and this is just a one-off. Sometimes good teams run into shitty series.
Yeah. I think they had been on a hot streak for so long. We knew eventually they would not have a series that was good. So we knew it was going to happen. It's a bummer that it did. So we appreciate all the love and support. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Check us out on Twitter at Dbacks Dispatch. Make sure to go ahead and join our Discord. We appreciate it, and it's going to be great. And check us out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Dbacks Dispatch. Let's go. Yeah. Brand new Red Game, Josh on the floor. West Coast vibes, catch us on the air. Home running dogs, diamond gems, we share. Brandon was a stat, sees a man with a plan. Red races down, tells it like it is, man. Gabs on fire, raise the heat every time. Josh on the mix, keep the beat so prime. Ain't got that insight, 7 weeks ahead. Tune in, Dbacks Dispatch, this is it. Now we rollin'. Dbacks Dispatch, yeah. Trump and Brandon Gay, this is Big Catch. Josh on the mix, he makes the beats. West Coast vibe, got the G fucking the band. The home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, home Mac. Dbacks Dispatch, we here to stay. Yeah, catch us every week, we bring the flavor to it. We got the home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, home Mac. Dbacks Dispatch, we here to stay. Catch us every week, we bring the flavor to it.